now, first of all, we thought we'd talk about seeing a therapist for the first time, Shomit, and any conceptions or misconceptions that people might have about this. Many people acknowledge, Shomit, that they have specific problems but do not instantly connect them to their mental health and the need to seek help. When we've had a bad cough, for example, we rush straight to the GP, Shomit, yet it seems there's a tendency to live for months, even years, suffering with often debilitating mental and emotional issues. What would you say to listeners to help them decide whether they need to come and see a therapist such as yourself, Shomit?
That's a very, very good question. It's a very important question, because the first step towards making any progress with any issue you have is to actually take the decision to go and see somebody. And the reason people are reluctant to go and see people to do with emotional issues is the stigma, not around mental illness, but around weakness. People feel that they will be perceived as being weak, as not being man enough in the male-dominated world, and so on. And that is something they shy away from, and possible repercussions at work, perhaps, or within families, and so on. But the way I would encourage people to look at this is, if you have got a mental illness, then you can go and see a therapist the way you would see a therapist for a physical illness. And people now know a great deal about mental illness, and there's less of a stigma, ironically, about it. The gray area is when it's not an out-and-out illness, but where you're struggling, where you're finding something difficult. And there I would encourage people to focus on just one thing, which is that at the end of the day, everybody needs a mentor. Everybody needs someone to guide them, to show them the way. There's a very close friend of mine who's the head of a major multinational company, who gave a talk at a business school in the United States. And in that talk, one of the points he makes is exactly that the leaders of business, too, are not immune from needing help. I, myself, see many heads of banks and heads of institutions and so on, because everybody at the end of the day needs some guidance, someone outside the system who can tell them what they're doing that's wrong, what they're doing that could be clever, and so on. You need to learn skills. Virtually everything you do is something you've learned. You've learned how to drive, you've learned how to cook out of a cookbook perhaps, you've learned everything, you've learned how to read or write. But no one's actually taught anyone skills around leading their lives. And that's crucial. I had a woman, a client who was a teacher trainer, and she said to me laughingly, if someone had taught me some of the things you're teaching me now when I was in school, I wouldn't need to see you now. So there are skills in the world of actually living one's life, which are never taught. We learn history and geography and so on, but we're never taught how to actually go about the sometimes turbulent business of living a life. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with seeking help around that. I think, in fact, it's a very smart thing to do, to seek help around that. And I think that's increasingly coming to be recognized. So I would say to people, pick up the phone, call someone, and just go out there to seek some help, just to get another point of view. There's nothing wrong with doing that. In fact, you're doing something that the leaders of business, the leaders in sportsmen, they have coaches, for example. They all think it's necessary. You're in very good company if you seek help.